I stand at my mother's grave, counting lies instead of flowers. 364 days of marriage, built on pretty words and hollow promises, all crumbling like the earth beneath my feet. The roses in my hands are starting to wilt, just like everything else Lucas touches. My name is Bailey, and I used to believe in fairy tales. Now I know better. Darling, we should head back to the house. Lucas's hand settles on my shoulder, warm and possessive. Your mother wouldn't want you standing out here all day. The laugh that bubbles up tastes bitter. Funny how everyone suddenly knows exactly what my mother would want. I shrug off his touch, watching his reflection in the polished granite. He's wearing the perfect grieving son-in-law expression, but his eyes keep darting toward the parking lot where his mother waits in her Mercedes. Helen's prepared a lovely reception, he says, as if reading my thoughts. Everyone's waiting. Of course they are. Helen Evans never misses an opportunity to play the gracious matriarch, especially now that there's a business empire up for grabs. I've seen the way she circles my mother's legacy like a vulture, dropping hints about helping me manage the company, about how overwhelming it must all be. I need a minute, I tell Lucas, and he retreats with practiced understanding, always so careful to play his part in public. The funeral crowd has thinned, but I catch snippets of their whispers. Poor Bailey, they say. First her father, now her mother. Thank goodness she has Lucas and Helen to lean on. I dig my nails into my palms until the pain drowns out their voices. Uncle Paul appears at my side, solid and real, in a way that makes my chest ache. Ready to face the wolves, he asks quietly. I heard them, you know. The words slip out before I can stop them. Last night in the study, Lucas and Helen. Paul goes very still. What did you hear? Enough. I smooth my black dress, buying time. Helen was angry about something, the timing being wrong. Lucas kept saying they needed to wait, that I wasn't ready to discuss the company yet. My throat closes around the rest. How Lucas had sounded nothing like my husband. How his voice had carried that same calculating tone Helen uses when discussing acquisitions. Bailey, Paul starts, but I cut him off. Did Mom ever tell you about her suspicions? He hesitates, and in that pause, I hear everything my mother never said aloud. All those worried glances, the way she'd started reviewing company documents with increasing urgency after my engagement. Your mother was very good at reading people, he finally says, and very good at protecting what mattered. A burst of laughter drifts over from the parking lot. Helen's holding court by her car, Lucas at her side. The perfect mother-son duo, sharing some private joke while my mother lies cold in the ground. I need access to everything, I tell Paul. Every account, every contract, every piece of paper with the company's name on it. You think they're planning something? I turn to face him fully. I think my husband married me for more than just love, and I think it's time I found out exactly what my mother was trying to protect me from. Paul studies me for a long moment, then nods. Come by the office tomorrow. We'll start with the audit your mother ordered 3 months ago. She ordered an audit? Yes. His smile is grim. And made me promise not to tell anyone until until now. I look back at Lucas and Helen, their heads bent together in consultation. My mother's final gift wasn't just the company, it was a warning. Tomorrow then, I say, straightening my spine. It's time to see what my loving family's been hiding. The audit files spread across Paul's desk like a map of betrayal. Every highlighted transaction, every questionable transfer tells its own story. My coffee grows cold as I trace the pattern emerging from my mother's careful notes. She knew, I whisper, more to myself than to Paul. She knew, and she was building a case. Paul leans back in his chair, his face carved with shadows. Your mother started noticing discrepancies 6 months ago. Small amounts at first, then larger transfers, all perfectly documented. But what? The authorizations look legitimate. They have your signature. My stomach drops. That's impossible. The office door swings open, and Helen glides in like she owns the place. Lucas trails behind her, his usual easy smile nowhere in sight. Bailey, darling, we've been looking everywhere for you. Helen's voice drips honey, but her eyes are sharp as she surveys the papers scattered across the desk. Shouldn't you be resting? It's only been 3 days since the funeral. I slide the most damning documents under a folder. Just getting my bearings, Helen. The company won't run itself. Oh, sweetheart. She settles into the chair beside me, uninvited. That's exactly what we wanted to discuss. Lucas and I have been talking, and we think it might be best to consider selling. The room goes still. Even Paul stops pretending to organize his files. Selling. My voice sounds distant to my own ears. Lucas steps forward, hands spread, in what's meant to be a placating gesture. It's just, you're dealing with so much right now. The grief, the responsibility. Nobody expects you to shoulder this burden alone. Burden? The word tastes like acid. This company is my mother's legacy. Was. Helen corrects softly. Was her legacy. And now it's time to think about your future. Our future. She reaches for my hand, but I pull away. Bailey, Lucas tries again. Be reasonable. You've never even worked in corporate management. The board members answer to me now. I stand, needing the height advantage. And I'm not selling. Helen's mask slips for just a moment, something ugly flashing in her eyes. You're being emotional. This is business. No, I say. This is family, and you're not it. Lucas flinches like I've slapped him. Good. I think. Paul interrupts smoothly. We should table this discussion until Bailey's had time to review all the necessary documentation. Legal requirements, you understand. Helen rises, straightening her designer jacket. Of course, we only want what's best for Bailey. She pauses at the door. Oh, and darling, don't forget the charity gala tomorrow night. The board members will all be there, and appearances are so important right now. After they leave, I sink back into my chair, hands shaking. Well, Paul says quietly, that confirms it. They're after the company, have been all along. I pull out my phone, scrolling through photos until I find what I'm looking for. A picture from last year's Christmas party. Look at this. Helen, talking to James Morton from the board. 6 months before Lucas and I even met. Paul leans in. Could be coincidence. Like these forged signatures? Like the fact that Lucas proposed right after Mom's diagnosis. I laugh, and it sounds hollow even to me. Some coincidences feel an awful lot like conspiracy. My phone buzzes. A text from Chloe. Found something. Meet me at the usual spot. ASAP. I gather the audit files, my mind already racing ahead. I need copies of everything. And Paul? Don't let anyone else access these records, especially not Lucas or Helen. Bailey. Paul's voice stops me at the door. Your mother, she wanted to protect you from this, from them. I know. I think of Helen's perfectly manicured hands, reaching for my mother's company, of Lucas's practiced concerned expression. But she's not here to fight them anymore. I am. The elevator doors close on Paul's worried face, and I check my phone again. Whatever Chloe's found, I hope it's enough to start dismantling the careful web of lies my husband and his mother have woven around me. Because tomorrow night at the gala, I'm done playing the grieving daughter they can manipulate. It's time to show them exactly whose daughter I really am. Chloe's hands tremble as she slides the USB drive across the coffee shop table. You need to see this now. Her voice carries none of its usual warmth. I had to call in 3 favors to get these bank records. I plug the drive into my laptop, and my world shifts on its axis. Transaction after transaction, all perfectly disguised as legitimate business expenses, flowing from company accounts into a maze of offshore holdings. At the center of it all, a familiar name, Evans Investment Group. There's more, Chloe says, tapping the screen. Look at the dates. The first transfer was made 2 weeks before Lucas asked me to marry him. The most recent, yesterday. My coffee cup shatters against the floor. Several patrons turn to stare, but I barely notice. How much? Total? Almost $4 million. Chloe reaches for my hand. Bailey, there's something else. I found emails between Helen and Lucas from before you met. They planned everything. The walls of the coffee shop seemed to close in. I remember Lucas's first accidental meeting at my mother's charity event. How smoothly he'd worked his way into my life, into my heart. My phone buzzes. Lucas calling again. I silence it, but not before noticing 6 missed calls from Helen. I have to go to the office, I say, standing abruptly. The gala preparations. Screw the gala. Chloe's voice cuts through my haze. You need to call the police. Not yet. The clarity of that decision surprises me. I need to hear him say it. The drive to the office passes in a blur. When I arrive, Lucas is waiting in my office, looking perfectly at ease behind her desk. Where have you been? He stands, coming around to kiss me, but I step back. Helen's been trying to reach you about the gala arrangements. $4 million. He freezes. What? That's how much you and Helen have stolen so far. My voice sounds strange, detached. Was that the price tag on our marriage? Or did you charge extra for pretending to love me? Color drains from his face. Bailey, I can explain. Please do. Start with the emails, planning how you'd seduce the grieving daughter of a dying CEO. Or maybe explain how you forged my signature on those transfers. It wasn't like that. He runs his hands through his hair, a gesture I once found endearing. At first, yes, it was Helen's idea. The company was struggling. The laugh that escapes me sounds nothing like my own. There is no we, Lucas. There never was. I fell in love with you. He steps forward, desperate now. Yes, it started as a plan, but I really do love you. Helen pushed me into it, but you just kept stealing anyway? I pull out my phone, showing him the transaction records. Yesterday's transfer says otherwise. The mask slips entirely. His face hardens, becomes something I've never seen before. What do you want? The truth. For once, he laughs. Ugly and sharp. Fine. The truth? You were an easy mark. Daddy dead, mommy dying. So desperate for someone to love you that you never questioned anything. Helen said you'd be simple to handle, and she was right. Each word lands like a physical blow, but I force myself to stand straight. And now, his smile turns cruel. Now you're going to sign over controlling interest in the company, or Helen will make sure everyone knows about your mental breakdown after your mother's death. How you've been making irrational accusations, becoming paranoid. The board already thinks you're unstable. It won't take much to convince them. I reach for my desk phone, hitting the speaker button. Did you get all that, Paul? Lucas whirls around. Paul stands in the doorway, phone in hand, recording. Behind him, Helen's face has gone chalk white. Every word, Paul says quietly. Lucas lunges for the phone, but I'm already backing away, watching their carefully constructed world begin to crumble. Bailey, Helen starts, but I cut her off. The police are on their way. I suggest you both start practicing your explanations. I walk past them, head high. Oh, and Helen, don't worry about the gala. I'll make sure to tell everyone exactly why you couldn't attend. The police interview room feels smaller with each passing hour. Detective Martinez slides another photo across the table. Surveillance footage of Helen entering the company building late at night, 3 weeks before my mother's death. Mrs. Evans claims she had your authorization, Martinez says. Says you've been making rash decisions since your mother's diagnosis. My fingernails dig into my palms. And you believe her? What I believe doesn't matter. What matters is the board meeting she's called for tomorrow morning. The words hit like ice water. Paul bursts through the door before I can respond. Bailey, don't say another word. Detective, this interview is over. Outside, the evening air does nothing to clear my head. Paul grips my elbow, steering me toward his car. Helen's been busy. She's convinced 3 board members you're emotionally unstable. She can't. She already has. The emergency meeting is to vote on temporary leadership during your recovery period. His voice hardens. They're going to try to force you out. My phone chirps, a text from Lucas. It doesn't have to be this way. Meet me at home, please. Home. The word tastes like ash now. I need to get something from the house, I tell Paul. He starts to protest, but I cut him off. I know what I'm doing. The house is dark when I arrive, except for my mother's study. Lucas waits there, looking perfectly at ease in the room where I first kissed him, where he proposed, where my mother. You're sitting in her chair, I say. He doesn't move. Bailey, you're making this harder than it needs to be. Helen's offering a generous settlement. Walk away now. Keep your dignity intact. My dignity. Something burns behind my eyes. You married me for money, stole from my family, and now you're threatening my dignity. I'm trying to protect you. He stands, agitated. You think you know everything? Your mother wasn't the saint you imagine. Ask yourself why she really ordered that audit. Why she was meeting with corporate raiders behind closed doors. The room tilts slightly. What are you talking about? She was selling pieces of the company in secret. Helen found out, tried to stop her. Everything we did was to save this company from your mother's mistakes. I moved to my mother's desk, running my fingers along the wooden edge. You're lying. Check the safe. Behind the painting. The proof's all there. My hand freezes on the desk. How do you know about the safe? Lucas's face changes, just for a moment. A flash of something ugly, before the mask slips back into place. Because, a new voice says, I told him. Helen stands in the doorway, elegant as ever in her designer suit. Your mother got sloppy near the end. Started keeping records of her little side deals. We couldn't let her destroy everything we'd built. We? The pieces click into horrible place. You were business partners? Until she decided to go ethical on us. Helen's laugh is soft and cruel. Started talking about legacy and family values. She would have ruined everything. My fingers find the button under the desk. The one my mother showed me years ago. A silent alarm, she'd said, just in case. The audit, I say slowly. She wasn't investigating Lucas's transfers. She was building a case against you. Smart girl. Helen moves closer, but not smart enough. Sign the company over tomorrow, or every dirty secret your mother tried to hide goes public. Her reputation, your family name, all of it burns. You really think you've won, don't you? I lean against the desk, feeling the weight of my mother's letter opener against my palm. But you forgot something important. And what's that? I smile, hearing sirens in the distance. My mother taught me to record everything. The study door bursts open. Detective Martinez leads the charge, officers flooding in with weapons drawn. As they read rights and snap handcuffs, I pull out my phone, stopping the recording app. Bailey, Lucas calls as they lead him away. You don't understand what you're doing. But I do. For the first time since my mother died, I understand perfectly. I pick up her framed photo from the desk. I promised to protect your legacy, Mom. I just didn't know from whom. The bail hearing takes less than an hour. I watch Helen and Lucas walk free, their lawyer's smug smile burning into my back as I leave the courthouse. Paul catches up to me on the steps. They won't stay free for long, he says. The evidence isn't enough. I keep walking, my heels clicking against marble. Helen's already spinning the story. Poor grieving daughter, imagining conspiracies, desperate for someone to blame. My phone buzzes. Another reporter asking for comment. Third one today. I silence it just as Chloe pulls up in her car. Board meeting in 30 minutes, she says as we climb in. And Bailey, it's bad, really bad. The executive floor is unusually quiet when we arrive. James Morton, head of the board, intercepts us before we reach the conference room. Bailey, a word. His office smells of expensive leather and victory. Helen's legal team contacted us this morning. They're filing a countersuit, defamation, harassment, malicious prosecution. Let them. They have documentation suggesting your mother was involved in insider trading. He slides a folder across his desk, dating back 5 years. My hands shake as I open it. Emails, contracts, meeting notes, all carefully selected to paint my mother as a criminal. These are fake, are they? James leans forward. Because Helen has witnesses willing to testify, respected business associates who'll swear your mother was cutting illegal deals for years. And let me guess, this all goes away if I step down. The board would consider it a gesture of good faith. I stand, the chair scraping against hardwood. The meeting starts in 10 minutes. I'll give you my answer then. Paul and Chloe wait outside, faces grim. How bad? Paul asks. They're trying to destroy her reputation. My voice cracks. Everything she built, everything she stood for. Bailey. Chloe grabs my arm. Look. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I see Helen talking quietly with board members. Lucas stands nearby, that familiar charming smile in place. They've already won them over. I need 5 minutes, I tell them. Heading for my mother's office, our office. Inside, I sink into her chair, breathing in the lingering scent of her perfume. The photo on her desk shows us at my wedding, both of us smiling, neither knowing the snake we'd welcomed into our family. My phone buzzes again. Unknown number. Miss Turner? A woman's voice. Unfamiliar. My name is Sarah Chen. I worked with your mother's private investigator. The world stops. What private investigator? The one she hired 6 months ago to investigate Helen Evans. I have files, recordings, photographs, financial records, things your mother couldn't access officially. My heart pounds. Why are you calling now? Because Helen's people just offered me money to destroy everything. A pause. Your mother was kind to me once. I'd rather give you the truth. I checked the time. 3 minutes until the meeting. Where? I'm parked behind the building. Blue sedan. I text Paul. Stall the meeting. Trust me. The service elevator takes me to the parking garage. A middle-aged Asian woman stands beside a blue car, holding a thick envelope. Your mother knew, she says, handing it over, about Helen's past companies, the bankruptcies, the fraud charges that disappeared. She was building a case, but she ran out of time. Inside the envelope, I find what I need. Proof of Helen's pattern, her history of corporate takeovers and destroyed lives, and something else. Surveillance photos of Helen meeting with my mother's doctors weeks before her condition suddenly worsened. There's more, Sarah says softly, about your mother's last days. Cold certainty settles in my chest. Send everything to this address. I hand her my lawyer's card. And Sarah, thank you. The elevator feels different going up. I'm my mother's daughter, after all. And it's time to show Helen Evans exactly what that means. I walk into the board meeting 10 minutes late, Helen's smirk fading as she sees my face. I don't look at the board members or Paul or even Lucas. I look straight at her as I set the envelope on the table. So, I say quietly, shall we discuss my mother's last days, Helen? The surveillance photos scatter across the boardroom table like playing cards. Helen's face remains composed, but her knuckles whiten around her water glass. These meetings with Dr. Richards, I say, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. They happened 2 weeks before my mother's condition suddenly deteriorated. Lucas starts to stand. Bailey, you can't possibly. Sit down. The command comes from James Morton, his earlier smugness replaced by something harder. Mrs. Evans, explain these photographs. Helen's laugh sounds brittle. Really, Bailey? Accusing me of what? Murder. This is exactly the kind of unstable behavior we've been concerned about. I slide another document forward. Dr. Richards made a very large deposit the day after my mother's death. The money came from one of your shell companies. The room goes deadly quiet. Paul moves closer to the door, blocking it. Helen's lawyer whispers urgently in her ear, but she waves him off. You want to play this game? Her voice drops to a whisper. Fine. Your mother was weak, sentimental. She was going to destroy everything we'd built, expose our arrangements with overseas investors. I simply accelerated the inevitable. Helen. Lucas looks horrified, but I see the calculation behind his shock. Always performing, even now. Oh, stop pretending, darling. Helen's mask finally slips completely. You knew exactly what was happening. Why do you think I had you marry her so quickly? We needed control before she died. And you played your part perfectly. The board members shift uncomfortably. James Morton reaches for his phone, but Helen's next words freeze everyone in place. Bailey, dear, you have exactly 30 seconds to withdraw these accusations and resign, or the world learns how your father really died 10 years ago. The air leaves my lungs. What? Your mother's hands weren't entirely clean. That car accident, insurance fraud gone wrong. I have proof, documents, witness statements, everything. Your precious legacy dies today, one way or another. My carefully constructed plan crumbles. I see the board members' expressions changing, doubt creeping in. Even Paul looks uncertain. Time's up, Helen says softly. What's it going to be? Lucas moves to my side, touching my arm. Bailey, please, think about what you're doing. Some things should stay buried. I look at his hand on my arm. The wedding ring I once thought meant something. Behind him, Helen's triumphant smile grows. They've orchestrated everything. From the beginning. My marriage, my mother's death, maybe even my father's. Every choice I thought was mine was just another move in their game. You're right, I whisper. Some things should stay buried. I reach for the resignation letter James prepared earlier. Helen relaxes slightly, victory in her eyes. Instead of signing, I pull out my phone and press play. Helen's voice fills the room. You knew exactly what was happening. Why do you think I had you marry her so quickly? We needed control before she died. No. Helen lunges for the phone, but Paul catches her arm. That's not all, I say, my voice shaking. The police are executing search warrants right now. Your home, your office, Dr. Richard's clinic. And every board member here will receive copies of my mother's complete investigation files within the hour. You'll destroy everything, Lucas warns. Every reputation, every relationship. You already did that. I turn to the board. My resignation letter, gentlemen, I think you'll find it interesting reading, especially the part about Helen's involvement in 3 other corporate takeovers that ended in mysterious deaths. Helen breaks free from Paul, her composure shattered. I'll destroy you. No, I stand straighter, my mother's strength flowing through me. You'll destroy yourself. The only question is how many people you take down with you. The boardroom doors burst open. Detective Martinez leads a team of officers inside, warrant cards displayed. Helen Evans, Lucas Evans, you're under arrest for conspiracy and corporate fraud. Martinez pauses. Among other charges. As they're led away, Helen's threats echo through the hallway, but I don't move, don't speak. I stand at the head of my mother's table, in my mother's company, and let the weight of victory settle over me like a shroud. Some things should stay buried, but some truths demand to be heard, no matter the cost. The courthouse steps swarm with reporters as Helen and Lucas arrive for their arraignment. I watch from across the street, Chloe's hand steady on my arm. Even now, they play their parts perfectly. Helen dignified in designer black, Lucas appropriately somber. Ready? Paul asks quietly. Before I can answer, my phone buzzes. Unknown number. Bailey. Lucas's voice, desperate and familiar. Meet me in the park. 10 minutes. There's something you need to know about your mother. Chloe grabs my wrist. Don't. But I'm already moving. Some truths demand witnesses. The park bench where Lucas proposed sits empty, except for him. No Helen, no lawyers. He looks smaller somehow, less polished. Make it quick, I say, staying standing. Your mother knew what Helen was planning. He runs his hands through his hair, that gesture I once loved. She approached me 6 months ago, offered me immunity if I'd testify against Helen. The world tilts slightly. What? I refused, told Helen everything. That's when he stops, swallowing hard. That's when Helen decided your mother had to go. And you let it happen. I loved you. He reaches for my hand, but I step back. Maybe not at first, but I did. I couldn't betray my mother. No. You just betrayed your wife instead. Movement catches my eye. Helen emerging from behind a tree, her lawyer close behind. Of course, one final manipulation. Bailey, Helen calls out. You're making a terrible mistake. Think about what this trial will do to your father's memory, to your mother's reputation. Interesting threat, considering what just arrived at the district attorney's office. I check my watch. About 20 minutes ago, actually. Helen's smile falters. What are you talking about? Remember Sarah Chen, the investigator? She found something fascinating in my mother's safety deposit box. Video recordings, years of them. Every meeting, every threat, every scheme. You're bluffing. Mom knew what you were, Helen. Right from the start. She played you, documented everything, built an airtight case. The only thing she didn't count on was you getting to her before she could finish it. Lucas steps forward. Bailey, please. The videos show everything, including you, Lucas, admitting to Helen that Mom offered you immunity, proving premeditation. Helen's lawyer whispers urgently in her ear, but she waves him off. You wouldn't dare. It would destroy everything? I laugh, and it sounds like my mother's. That's the point. But here's the deal. Confess. Full confession, all of it. Do that, and the videos stay private. Or what? Or in 1 hour, every major news outlet receives copies. Your choice. Helen's face contorts. You stupid girl, you think you've won. I still have proof about your father's accident. I'll burn your whole family's legacy to the ground. No, Paul's voice rings out as he approaches with Detective Martinez. You won't. Martinez holds up his phone, recording. Chloe steps out from behind a tree with her own phone raised. Conspiracy, blackmail, admission of premeditated murder. Martinez lists off. Want to add anything else, Mrs. Evans? Helen lunges for me, all pretense of dignity gone. You orchestrated this entire meeting. I learned from the best. I step back as Martinez restrains her. You taught me how to play the long game, Helen. Too bad you never learned when to stop playing. Lucas doesn't resist when they cuff him. Bailey, he calls out. For what it's worth, I really did love you. I watch them lead Helen and Lucas away, their protests fading into the morning air. Paul squeezes my shoulder. Your mother would be proud, he says softly. But I'm not sure pride is what I feel. Standing in the park where my marriage began, watching it end in handcuffs and sirens, I realize revenge tastes different than I expected. Not sweet, not bitter, just final. Let's go, I tell Paul and Chloe. We have a company to run. Behind us, Helen's threats echo off marble courthouse walls, but they can't touch me anymore. Some debts can only be paid in truth, and today, the bill came due. The verdict takes less than 2 hours. I watch Helen's face as guilty echoes through the courtroom. Once, twice, 7 times total. She doesn't look at Lucas when they lead him away. His separate plea deal, securing a lighter sentence, but destroying their final connection. Outside, reporters shout questions about justice and closure. I push past them, letting Paul handle the statements. My mother's letter burns in my pocket. Discovered this morning in a folder marked for after. The office is quiet when I arrive. Sarah Chen waits by my mother's desk, a familiar safety deposit box in her hands. There's something she wanted you to see, Sarah says, setting down the box. When it was over, inside, I find a single USB drive and a handwritten note. For my daughter, who always knew the difference between revenge and justice. The video plays, and my mother's face fills the screen. She looks tired but determined, recording this in her final days. Bailey, if you're watching this, then Helen and Lucas have shown their true colors. And knowing you, you've already fought back. She smiles. That fierce expression I remember from boardroom battles. But revenge isn't why I built this case. It was never about punishing them. It was about protecting you. Protecting everything we built together. My throat tightens as she continues. There's one last thing you need to know. The company's overseas accounts. I've hidden something there. Not money, proof, evidence of every person Helen has destroyed over the years. Their stories, their losses, all of it. Use it wisely. Some of them might still need justice. The screen flickers. But Bailey, don't let this consume you. Helen's greatest victory would be turning you into someone like her, someone who sees people as pieces to be played. You're my daughter. You're better than that. The video ends. Sarah quietly leaves as I sit at my mother's desk, running my fingers over the worn leather armrests. My phone buzzes, a text from Lucas's prison email account. I meant what I said about loving you. I delete it without responding. Some wounds don't need closure. They just need to heal. Chloe appears in the doorway. The board's waiting. They want to discuss the company's direction. Tell them 5 minutes. Alone again, I open my mother's last drawer, the one I've avoided since her death. Inside, photos spill out. My father teaching me to ride a bike. My mother at my college graduation. Family moments that Helen tried to taint but couldn't touch. The last photo shows my mother and me in her office, both laughing at some forgotten joke. On the back, she'd written, "Remember who you are." I pin it to the wall next to the company's mission statement. Then I pull out my phone and dial a number I've been holding on to. "Mrs. Rodriguez, this is Bailey Turner. I found evidence about how Helen Evans destroyed your family's business. I'd like to help make it right, because that's the thing about legacies. They're not just what we inherit, but what we choose to do with them." I grab my briefcase and head to the boardroom, leaving my mother's office door open. Through the windows, sunlight streams across the desk where Helen once plotted, where Lucas once lied, where my mother built something worth protecting. Paul meets me halfway. "Ready?" "Almost." I pause, looking back at my mother's photo. You know, she never wanted revenge. She wanted justice, not just for us, but for everyone Helen hurt. And now we finish what she started. I straighten my jacket, feeling the weight of her letter against my heart. But this time, we do it my way. The boardroom doors open, and I step through, leaving revenge behind and carrying justice forward. Because some legacies aren't about getting even. They're about making things right. And that's a story worth telling.